Thank you very much. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to tonight's shiur. Thank you again for Meir Gabbai and John Hai for arranging this shiur. And I'd like to dedicate tonight's shiur Lulun Yishmat Rivka Batchen Ruach Hashem Tenichene Began Eden. And also, old friend, I don't know if anyone knew, Sam Samuels from Odessa Chai Zichrono Livracha. He moved to Israel, he moved back to London, and he passed away. And yesterday was the Shloshim. I actually learned with him for a period of time. Every week we used to study together. He used to come and learn with me Torah. And he told me, what his dream was to study the Gemara.
Charlie.
Sorry? Once he said he bought the whole set of the old scroll Gemaras, I think like 130 volumes or something, and he kept it in his house. And he said he always had a dream to study Gemara. And for a period of time, we studied every week. He was a very kind man and respectful man. And I'd like to dedicate the shiur also in his memory. Also, I wish her for Shlema, for all of Israel, and especially Naomi Bat Leah Malka, Elisheva Bat Sheva Bat Rivka, Liko Oshni Bat Rozet, and Yael Leah Bat Rozet, and also my niece had operation today, just a baby girl, a few months old, Hadassah Bat Rachel Adi. Kelna Refana Lahem, Fuat and Efshat Aguf, Fuat Kolova Lavo. It's called the shiur that we're studying tonight together. It should be Refuah Shlema. Okay. So, this week's parasha, in fact, it's the last parasha we read before the Shabbat before Shavuot. So it's coming up to the parashat of Shavuot. And everyone talks about the study of the Torah, the Chokotai, because that is really what we're talking about. Rashi says, if you follow the ways of my Torah and you study my Torah, then you'll be successful. And it gives the bracha, literally meaning that the rainfall will fall in its right time. And the land will be fruitful and the trees will produce their fruit. But technically, if we're not farmers, the bracha means the blessing is we will have parnasa. That means you have the money when you need it. There'll be a cash flow. There'll be money in the account. There'll be money in your wallet, and you'll have the money that you'll need to spend. That's it's a sadeitin period. Sometimes you have money coming in, but you got money coming out before money comes in. That is because of the fall of Natati Gishmechem Beitam. That is the bracha. And after the brachot of the Torah, in this week's parasha, there's also some of the klalot. Now, I always like to focus on the brachot, being positive the whole time. And it's very important to stay positive. But at the end of the day, the Torah still does mention the klalot. So I want us to talk a little bit about it, just to mention it. It is this week's parasha, which we will be reading. And then the end of the parasha concludes with Erechin, parasha of Erechin. Bezat Hashem will speak about that towards the end of the shiur. And then next week is Parashat Bamidbar. There's always a Shabbat before Shavuot, that we don't finish the year with the klalot before Chag. Just like you have the klalot of Kitavo before Rosh Hashanah, we say that the curse of the year should be to finish. I'd like to welcome Joe and Yaron to the shiur. Thank you for joining us.
What about the timing?
So too, the parasha of the klalot of the parasha, we finished them before we went Chag HaShavuot. Okay, so if we turn to the beginning of the parasha, I'm just going to go in order. A few different ideas I want to share with you. One of the first klalot, maybe we'll start off with the klalot and then we'll go to the brachot. How about that? So the opening passages, if you follow the laws, in the chokotai telechu, you go in the right ways, you do the right path, you follow my mitzvot, you're guaranteed. It's going to be cruising, sailing, נתתי גשמכם בעיתם, השיג לכם דיישת בציר, ואכלתם לחמכם לשובע. You will feel full and satiated, you will have abundance and security. ישבתם לבטח בארצכם. Don't have to be worried about the security situation in the land. ונתתי שלום בארץ, there will be peace. ושכבתם ואין בחרי, there's no panic. Let your kids go on the bus by themselves, it's fine. חרב לא תעבור בארצכם. There's no dangers of no stabbings, nothing. והדפתם את אויביכם, you chase away your enemies. That's all the brachot which continue. וקמתי בריתי אתכם, and I will fulfill my covenant with you. Then the parasha continues. והתהלכתי בתוככם, I will walk amongst you, I will be amongst you. והייתם לכם אלוקים, I will be for you a God, and you will be for me a people. ואתם תהיו לי לעם. Okay, now I want to bring your attention to the next paragraph, the next passage, which we start off the klalot. What's the first klala? The first curse. And I would say maybe unfortunately we know this too much. If you don't listen to me, says the Torah, if you don't follow the laws, there's consequences. If you disgust my laws, you're disgusted by them, and you mezalzel, how do you say that in English? You disregard or you belittle my laws. If you're disgusted by the halachot, you don't do this, and you break the contract, you break the covenant. Then I will also leave you. And then this is the first curse. Now what does that mean? It means I'll let you panic. Bahala it's a frenzy. It's a fear, a pachad. There is the klala. You think that's not so bad, you know. You still have your money, you still have your health, you still have your children, you still have food, but it's a panic. Now, I think it's not something everyone can relate to. I can relate to that. What does it mean being panicked?
Sorry, just
speak up,
the punishment and the condition. So if you do what, you get what punishment?
If we don't follow the laws, then there's a whole series of curses.
If you belittle.
Yeah, if we belittle, if you discuss or timasu bechukotay timasu. That means you don't pay attention to the law. You don't care what the halakha says. Then there's a whole list.
What will happen
of klalot, curses, and the first one being mifkadati lachem ba'ala. What does ba'ala means? It means you will feel a sense of panic. Really, that's what it means, ba'ala. You know, when a person is stressed and he's panicking, he doesn't know what to do, he's all nervous, he's not calm. All right, so at first, it doesn't really seem such a strict curse, you know. If you want to curse someone, it's not really the first thing that you curse with, right? So I want to bring attention to this and maybe connect it to the purpose of the Torah. Chafetz Chaim used to say, when we say on the Hoshanot, Hoshana, right, when we walk around the Lulav on Sukkot, Hoshana, what do we say there? We say, Hoshana, please save us. We say, save us, Dagan midaleket, Chita michagav, Nefesh mibahala. Now I'll translate. We want to save the crop field from pestilence, from disease, and the wheat from the grasshopper, which eats all the wheat, and save nefesh, my soul, from bahala, from panic. And he says that Chafetz Chaim, that they're all exactly the same. Just like the grasshoppers, they eat all of the wheat, and the pestilence, the disease just kills off all the crops. The panic, bahala, that completely destroys the nefesh of the soul of the person. That means all your serenity and your peacefulness, peace of mind, that all goes. And then there is no enjoyment, right? Have you ever tried to eat when you're in a panic?
Yeah,
no, you can't enjoy it. No, there's no enjoyment. Have you ever tried to sleep when you're in a panic?
No, it's true. You can't sleep.
No. Drive in a panic. It's dangerous. No? So you like, it's the dysfunctional. And if you see great men, Gedolei Torah, they said about the son-in-law of the Chafetz Chaim, said, what's the great attribute that you see of your father-in-law, the Chafetz Chaim, the great Torah tzaddik? He said he's always calm. Yeshuv Hadat. How do you say in English Yeshuv Hadat? Peace of mind. He's got serenity. He's always calm, shalvat nefesh, anytime. Now, sometimes we're calm, sometimes we're in a panic. These are difficult times. But he's always calm. Now, how do you always stay calm and serene? There are times when there's a panic. Sometimes, some people panic when they need to catch up.
It depends on level of bitachon.
Oh, thank you, Gilad. Well, what do you mean by bitachon? You want to explain yourself?
Yeah, when you there are different ways to explain it, but the simplest way is that when you have a full understanding that everything is from Hashem.
Yes.
So it's so then you are peaceful, right?
Absolutely. This is really the blessing of the Emunah. And all of the Torah comes down to this one point. So we'll talk about that. What does that mean? Chavakuk was one of the prophets, the Navi, and he said all the laws of the Torah come down to one thing. Tzaddik be'emunato yicheh. Which means that tzaddik lives with his faith, with the emunah, which sounds simple. But it's really summarized the whole Torah, that you walk with God. God is with you the whole time. Right now, how often do we think about Hashem? We think about Him when we come to the shiur. We think about Him when we're in trouble, when we need something. All the time we're thinking Him. So, I'll just explain this concept a little bit. The Chafetz Chaim and the Chazon Ish always talk about this, that somebody who really believes in Hashem, he doesn't leave that connection with Hashem, then he never loses his peace of mind. Because he's always understanding that God is in control and he's in good hands. The will of God happens, right? I was telling Yaakov and Joe that I was planning Achlasat Sefer Torah. I was like really involved.
I spoke to your father this morning. How was it? Sorry to interrupt.
Well, what did my father say?
He said it was. I briefly. He said he went for the Achnasat Sefer Torah. He said he went to Israel.
Okay.
Yes,
so he went to Israel.
I didn't go too much into detail.
Okay, so I got good feedback and everyone was very happy. But I want to tell you from my side, behind the scenes, okay? We had a lot of planning went into it. Okay, I mentioned we had maybe more than 500 children. Okay, and I don't know how many adults, maybe 200 adults or 300. With the whole Achnasat Sefer Torah, we had the van, we had music, and there was food, there was catering, music, there was the hall, the sofa. There was a lot of planning involved. We had lights, decoration in the streets. We gave out sweet. There was a lot of details to be planned. And from an outside outsider's point of view, everything went, really nice and everyone fine. Now, for me, working on inside, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm being recorded, so be careful what I say. It was a very humbling experience, yeah. I'll tell you what I mean. Like I said, there was a lot of planning and things were supposed to go according to plan. And, obviously, God has his plans. However much you plan, Hashem does exactly what he wants.
We plan, God laughs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I realized that, especially in timing, what was supposed to happen first, what was supposed to happen second, and it wasn't in my control.
Did you have a group with you? Did you have help?
All right, so we had a little bit of help, but basically I was like overseeing things. I was basically in charge. So of running it, and I realized it wasn't in my hands, and there's really nothing in my hands. However much I try and do my istadlut, I try and arrange everything that's supposed to happen, and then just leave it to God's hands. And when you're coming up to that, there's a lot of build-up of tension. pressure. You're responsible for a lot of people, and you want it to work out well, and you want everything to be good. And obviously, you're spending a lot of money here and effort, and people coming in from far away to join in. So you want it to work out good, and there's a bit of tension. And then when I realized that point, and just a friend happened to say that to me by passing. He said, Netanel, at the end of the day, whatever he wants, that's what's going to happen. And when I realized that, it just gave me a peace of mind. Because if you feel like you're in control, which I did in the beginning, then you feel like, okay, I've pressured, I've got to make sure it works out well. But once you realize you're not in control, and then you're not the driver, you can be much more relaxed, right? You try and do it and everything that happens, but everything, at the end of the day, everything's in God's hands. And that was very calming to me. It was like I was able to do the job much more peacefully. Try to do what I was supposed to do, and then let things flow in Hashem's hands. And once we realize that, or the more we realize that everything happens by the desire of Hashem, and we are in good hands, then there's no more room for panic, and there's no more. It's not going to help. What's the point of being pressured? The pressure doesn't help. The panic doesn't help. Just enjoy it. Do what you're trying to do, whatever you're best, do your best, and everything works out. So then we had a few minor blips or hiccups. Nobody really noticed apart from me. Everyone else was happy with it. And Baruch Hashem, thank God, it was a big schut and a big merit. Having said that, I want to point up to the next point. Oh, maybe I will come up with another thing. Does everyone remember the story of the Ger? Ger was a convert. He went to Bet Shammai. Not Bet Shammai, he went to Shammai. Shammai Azaken. And he said to him, please, Rabbi, teach me the whole Torah standing on one foot. And Shammai kicked him out the door. He said, you're making fun of me. I've been studying Torah for many generations, for many decades, non-stop day and night, and I haven't really touched the surface. And you want me to teach it to you standing on one leg? You're making fun of me. Kicked him out the door. And this guy, he didn't convert. He didn't give up. He went to Hillel Azaken. And he said to Hillel, please teach me the whole Torah standing on one foot. And what was Hillel's response? Thank you, Gilad. He said, whatever you don't want done to yourself, don't do to other people. Which in principle means, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. Don't do to others what you wouldn't do to yourself. Right? You wouldn't want someone to interrupt you when you're talking. Don't interrupt somebody else when you're talking. Yeah. You want people to come to your simcha, you go to other people's simcha. And so on and so forth. You want people to answer your messages, so answer other people's. That is the mitzvah. Now, when Hillel Azaken, he added up. 1 second, my oven's actually, excuse me. Okay, forgive me for the interruption. There's a cake in the oven. Yeah. Where was I? Yeah, so Hillel Azaken said, so if you want to study the whole Torah, it all boils down to one line. That was Hillel Azaken's lesson for life. That was the summary of the Torah. Now I ask you, how does that fit into the Navi or Habakkuk? Navi said, all the principles of the Torah are supposed to bring you to faith in God. So how does that work in with Ba'avta l'recha kamocha?
What do you mean? How can you get to the point you can Ba'avta l'recha kamocha if you don't have bitachon? That you understand that nothing is dependent on other people. So if you don't have any dependency already, you're not threatened by other people, or you're not really in need of other people. So then you can. Otherwise you cannot, right?
Wait, what are you saying? What comes first?
The emunato.
You're saying that leads up to V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Okay, so very nice. So very good, Gilad. There's basically two ways to look at it. one way to explain is one is Achad ben Adam lamakom, and one is ben Adam lachavero, which means, to live with God is tzadik be'emanoto yecheh, and your relationship with other people is v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. But on a deeper level, you find out that they're really one. They're really one, and this is really the lesson of Kudsha B'richu ve'Yisrael v'Oraita Chadu. We are all one. We're one nation, one people, one soul. All our neshamot are connected, and we're only separated by our bodies. That's really what it means. Am Yisrael is Achad. Am Yisrael is Nikra Adam. We are all one soul, or two different parts. We're all separated only by our bodies, and the love we have for each other. It stems really also for our connection with God. Now I'll explain it on another aspect. Also the way Gilad was saying, the full pasuk of V'ahavta l'recha kamocha does not begin with V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. It's the middle. How does it start off?
לא תשנא, הוכח תוכיח, אני השם. Yes, בסוף. Yeah.
So the pasuk says, what did you say, Gilad?
It מתחיל והוכח תוכיח, and it ends with אני השם.
Wait, so now there's two different psukim. One is לא תשנא את אחיך בלבביך, הוכח תוכיח את עמיתך, ולא תישא עליו חטא. That's one pasuk. End of pasuk. Which means don't hate your brother in your heart, and you should. הוכח תוכיח means you should give him the rebuke and correct him when he needs to be put right. לא תקום ולא תיטור את בני עמך ואהבת לרעך כמוך.
Sorry. Yeah, of course.
So now let me explain that. This is maybe most difficult, or one of the most difficult mitzvot in the Torah, which means do not bear a grudge and do not take revenge. It means when you ask... Go on, Joe. Speak up, Joe. Speak up.
If they're Rasha, if they are Rasha, is it not okay to hate?
So you hate... Okay, one second. We weren't talking about that, but I'm going to answer your question. The mitzvah is not to hate the Rasha, but to hate the Rasha's actions. Okay? And here the pasuk specifically talks about Lo tisna tachicha bilvavecha, which means in your heart. That means I can't, I smile to you and I shake your hand in shul and I give you a kiss and then I talk behind your back. That's Lo tisna tachicha bilvavecha. If I have an issue with you, I need to come to you in shul and say, Shabbat Shalom, Joe, and listen, I have a problem, why did you do this to me? And I have to come and tell you your face. And this is a mitzvah in the Torah, Lo tisna tachicha b'levavecha. If you have a problem in your heart, speak it out. Okay? If you can just, take it out of your heart and love your friend without speaking about it, fine, you don't have to speak about it. Give him a hug and genuinely give him a kiss. But don't hold that in your heart, and you say, okay, why didn't he come? I invited him and he didn't come, or whatever it is, what? Speak it out. Say, listen, I don't know what's wrong, but I was a bit upset about this. Speak it out, and it helps to smooth that over. And I think, from experience, it's the best way. That you hide things. You give him eyes. You're upset with him. He doesn't know why you're upset with him. And he don't know. And then at the end of the day, you stop talking to each other, and you don't even know why. Speak it out. Or why didn't you say hello to me? Speak it out. Let them speak it out and then smooth it over. That is a different mitzvah. Thank you for bringing up Joe. What we wanted to talk about is V'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Love your neighbor like yourself. Doesn't mean a neighbor, but your fellow Jew. Previously, that is a mitzvah of don't bear a grudge. What's don't bear a grudge? Ask you for a favor. Can you give me a loan? And you say no. Or any favor. And I know you could have helped me out. You just didn't want to help me out. So the next time when you ask me for a favor, what's my automatic reaction? What would you say, Jay? No, right. Why should I? You're not going to help me. If you don't want to be my friend, so I won't be your friend. Uh-huh. That is Isur d'Oraita. You're not allowed to do that. Not allowed to. If I say, can I borrow your car? You say no. Next thing you say, can I borrow your car? Then I'm not allowed to say no. Not only that, well, I can say no because I can say no because I don't
bro.
lend my car out to anyone. That's fine. You don't have to lend out your car. I can say, listen, I don't lend out my car, or you can say I need it, so I can't lend it out. But don't say, listen, I would lend it out to you, and I don't want lending out, but because you didn't lend me your car, that's why I'm not giving you mine. That's taking revenge. That is a summa d'oraita. Not only that, the more difficult part is to say, yes, you can have my car, because I'm not going to be a selfish pig like you, that you didn't lend me yours when I asked you for a favor. I'm going to help you out. I'm a much nicer person than you are. That is also called bearing a grudge. Even mentioning the fact that you didn't help me out yesterday and I'm helping you out today, that is also called lotito. Now, this is one of the most difficult mitzvot to fulfill. And then it says, Ani Hashem. How do you do that? And the only way to do that, like Gilad said, or quite rightly, is emunah b'Hashem. If you realize that the reason why he didn't lend you his car has nothing to do with him. God didn't want you to have his car. It's between you and God. Tzaddik be'emunato yicheh. And we have to realize that, not pointing the finger to blame. Okay? You walk into the house is messy. Right? You fixed it up, pools over the floor, laundry everywhere. You know, normal day in a normal house, okay? So why? You get upset. Why? I told you to clean up. So now you start pointing who to blame. It's nobody's fault. It's because Hashem wanted you to come into a messy house. That was between you and God. Now you try and do your best at being a good father and good husband and find a good word to say to everyone that's moral. But you're doing it a calm way. The reason why things didn't work out in the business, not because of your partner, not because of he said something stupid, because God didn't want it to work out. That's tzaddik be'emunato yicheh. Now once you live like that, then it's easy. You can love everybody because no one can do any harm to you in any way. No one can damage you. No one can deprive you. No one can take anything away from you. Only Hashem. So that is the consequence of tzaddik be'emunato yicheh, enables you to fulfill the mitzvah of ba'ahavta l'recha kamocha. Whereas if you fulfill ba'ahavta l'recha kamocha, it's only by tzaddik be'emunato yicheh. And in the end, they both bring to the same point. And that's closeness to the Creator and closeness with your fellow Jew and your brother. Now, having said that, I want to mention the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov says one of the brachot in this week's parasha is v'achaltem v'yichlu oslo. V'achaltem lachmechem lasova. How do you translate that, Gilad?
That you ate your bread until you're full, but it's a free translation. Yeah. Not the right.
Soba, to full satisfaction. Yeah? You eat until you're fully satiated. Right? Now most people you eat until you're full, right? Until you finish your sandwich, until you finish your plate, until you're full. So says the Baal Shem Tov, he says this has got a direct bracha of being calm. A person when he's angry should not eat. It's very dangerous to eat when you're angry. When you panic, when you're in a rush, when under stress. People, when they're stressed, they don't eat at all. The whole day they don't eat, yeah?
Or they eat a lot.
Well, I don't know.
There is such thing that is called stress eating. It's known.
Okay. So this is dangerous. It's not good to do that. In fact, the Gemara says, Eliyahu Navi came to Rabbi Netanel, he said to him, listen, when you're eating, eat a third, drink a third, and leave a third. I said, why? He said, if you have food in your stomach and you're full to full, and then afterwards you get angry, he said it can burst your inside your stomach and it can cause diseases and harmful upset stomach and a whole bunch of diseases that can happen. He says, what does that mean? Humble people can eat until they're fully satiated. Because a humble person doesn't get angry.
Anavim, not a grape, like in Vav, yeah.
Yeah, and that so the Yechlu Anavim B'lashon Anava, a humble person. And so that's the bracha of V'achaltem lachem b'sova. Im b'chukotai telecho, if you go follow my laws, then you don't have this bahala, you don't have this panic, you have this serenity, the peace of mind, the yeshuv adat. Then V'achaltem lachem b'sova. You can eat till you're full. There's nothing to worry about. You can enjoy your food, whatever it is, and enjoy your dinner, enjoy your lunch. Thanks, he gave thanks to Hashem. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever experienced a miracle? Let me say, if you would
every day, but we don't see them.
Well, so that's a very deep answer, Joe. Yeah, and that's true. Every day we see miracles.
That's straight from the Ramban. It's like
sure. Absolutely. So, that's part of our job, is to look and open our eyes to see the small, the small gifts of God. What happens when you experience something really good, and you feel God's hands? Should you share that story with other people, or maybe you should just keep that private, between you and God? Thank you for that, that gift.
Why? It's a mitzvah.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm going to share with you the following.
I'd say both.
What would you say? Gilad's saying yes, of course.
I say both. I said there's benefits to both. By keeping it to yourself, you're not by keeping it to yourself, you're not kind of showing off, and then you don't get to gloat.
Yes.
But Joe, פרסום הנס.
Wait, Joe, just speak up. What's the benefit of spreading out of sharing with people? What's the benefit?
You're sharing. You're promoting in some way the miracles that Hashem creates. You're making people
So what's
aware.
The benefit? You're making people aware. Exactly. Okay. So that's the Zohar Kadosh. Okay. One second. I'm just going to fix the connection. Okay, so forgive me for the interruption.
Rabbi, I think it's my connection. I think it is
Joe's. I think it is Joe's. When he speaks, it's him.
Okay.
Sorry, Joe, I didn't need to put you down.
That's true. It's true.
Okay, fine. So we're going to share a story. This is written down. I saw this in the book Be'er Parsha from Rav Biderman. He brings it actually from a Jew that lived in London. He brings down his initials, Nun Kuf, maybe NK, I don't know. And he said that he was, this is a really unbelievable story, but I'm just going to read it. This is how he tells it. He said that it was a Jew, he was stuck before Chag, and he had this emunah, faith in God. God's going to help me out before the Chag. He said he was missing before Pesach. Everyone knows how much money there is you spend before Pesach on a family. He was a family man. And he needed to pay rent and provide food for the family. And he came out from his groceries for Chag, and he's missing £1,200 from all of Chag. And he thought, Esai enai, ele arim ayin yavo ezri. David HaMelech said, I'll call up to the heavens, I'll look up to the heavens, and I say, well, who's going to help me? Elecha nasati et enai. And he asked Hashem, listen, for the Chag, please help me, I need the money. I don't know where money's coming from. And this is a very high level of emunah. Now, the next part is unbelievable. He said 1 minute passed. And comes up to him in Arab, Goy, and gives him an envelope with a piece of paper. And on the piece of paper it says, Pasuk in the Navi, in Malachi, says that you should bring off your ma'aser, the tenth of your profits, to the house of the Bet HaMikdash. They give ma'aser. And he looks at him and he says, what is this? And the guy says to him, I want to give a ma'aser to Hashem. And he says, here, take this envelope and do what you want. I'm giving it to you. Now, how much is in the envelope? He opens it and he finds £1,340. Now, if you do the maths, he writes out here, if you take off Ma'aser from 1,340, you get £1,206. Yeah. That was like the exact money he needed with like the £6 spent. And he said, this is the Bracha Asa Hashem called Tzorki. This is a Jew living nowadays in London, and this is a story which he's telling. And now he says, he writes this, I believe Hashem provides for me every penny, everything I need, everything comes from him. The more a person looks in life and he sees it, it just becomes clear to him. Now he said when he had this story, it's just simple prayer of simple Jew. It wasn't a big tzaddik. Simple prayer of simple Jew. Yudi kasher with eminat when it happened. He said he doesn't know. He didn't know if he should tell the story or not tell the story. People are going to believe him or shouldn't believe him. Or I don't know. Should I say the story? Should I not say the story? Like Joe said, maybe keep it to yourself. You had a miracle. Say thank God. Gilad said, of course, Galal Hashem b'Quran. So he said that it was Chag. Which Chag was it? It was Chag Pesach. And after the Haggadah, he opened up the Zohar Kadosh, and he read in the Zohar, Pikuda Batar Dala Sefer, that it's part of the reason why we read Haggadah Shel Pesach is Lepirsum Nisa, is to publicize the miracles of God. If I tell you the stories that happened to me and how God helped me out in my difficultness of a situation, he said, that's praising God, and everyone connects more. You hear, how God helped him, and thank God. I just opened the shiur and I said, Yaakov, how was your week? And he said, thank God. Isn't that? It's just good to hear that people saying that, thanking God, and things things went well, and it gives people more sense of strength in the emunah and bitachon in Hashem. All those who take shelter in God and they believe in God, Hashem provides for them. So of course, the answer is that when you have a miracle and God does you good, then you share it with others, and let others also strengthen in their emunah. I'm going to end off by one idea. We're in between Lag BaOmer and Chag HaShavuot, Chag Matan Torah. We're preparing for the receiving of the Torah. Our whole life is the Torah. That is what makes us Jews, is the Torah. And this is the key of the success, of the spiritual success of a person. Everyone knows simply that without Torah, he cannot achieve any kind of spiritual, achievement. Only through the Torah. You become a better person through the Torah. And somebody who understands that you can't even have even physical success without the Torah. The Torah was gift of God to mankind. And we need to study it as much as we can the whole time. Every day, we have a mitzvah to study Torah. Every day. The shiur we have once a week, but the mitzvah of studying Torah is every day. And I'm going to share with you maybe chidush, that Torah is actually a segula for parnasa. And thinking around by what's it going to do with parnasa and Torah. Tell me Torah is good for the neshama, good for a person's soul, brings a person to perfection of character, shlemut Adam, Torah for Am Yisrael, but what's it got to do with parnasa? So Torah says in this week's parasha, Im bechukotai telechu, v'natati gishmechem beitam. There you go, as simple as that. You follow my laws of Torah, and the parnasa will come.
Yeah, but this is it can be taken in the wrong way, I think. So I think that we need to remember it's not like a segula. Ramban says that actually when you want to keep Torah, study Torah,
then
so basically Hashem provides more so you can continue.
Yes. Okay. So
it's not a pras, it's not a gmul, or it's not like a reward, right? It's just Hashem says that's what you want. I will make.
Okay, so I'm going to share with you a few ideas. Listen to this. The Divrei Israel.
You understand? You understand why I'm pointing this, because it could be taken as if you study Torah, you can expect to get parnasa, which is
it's success in your ishtadlut for parnasa. That means when you make an investment and you go to work, your Torah blesses the way you go. I'll explain a bit more. The Torah is a chok, and when you work for chok, is for your parnasa. And a person thinks, I'm going to now a shiur Torah instead of going to my business meeting. Or I can't go to study Torah because I've got a business meeting. We have to realize that it's the Torah which brings success in your business meeting. We've always reminded the story of Rabbi Moshe Saba, Zichronai Livracha, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. Moshe Saba was the richest man in Mexico, or one of the three big richest men who are rich in Mexico. One of the big richest in the world. In Mexico, there was three riches: Safra, Safdi, and Saba. Yeah, I don't know what's going to do with the Samech, but they're all Samechs. There's buildings in Eretz Yisrael with you see their names on the buildings. In Yerushalayim, Moshe Saba, he used to study Torah. He actually became religious later in life, and he was a big tzaddik. He did a lot of things beseter, and he used to give charity without people knowing, and he used to give out a lot of money with people knowing, and he gave also a lot of money without people knowing. Also, he did a lot of good deeds himself that people didn't know about. I only found out afterwards. One of the things I wanted to share with you is that when he made the wedding for his son, so I don't know if you've ever been to rich people's weddings, yeah, they give out presents at the end of the wedding. They give out, some people give out sweets, some people give out little presents, gifts, souvenirs, memories. He said he had books of Torah on the table. And he didn't just give out the Sfarim, not just the Birkat Hamazon, but proper books to study. And he used to hold the books and he used to tell people, he said, listen, I'm giving you life. This is our life. Take these books and study them. He said that when he used to go on a plane for business, the first thing he used to do on the plane, Chok L'Yisrael. He said he wouldn't do nothing, wouldn't eat, wouldn't talk, wouldn't do any business, not opening his laptop, not opening his phone before he does his Chok L'Yisrael. Chok L'Yisrael is the study that every Jew can read. It was founded by the Ari HaKadosh, and then the Rav Chida brings it down, Ben Ish Chai, everyone, Talmid Chacham, just to read. Few psukim from the Torah, from the Navi, Mishnayot, Gemara, Zohar, Musar every day. Maybe it takes about 10-15 minutes just to read it. And he used to study every day. And he says one time there was a story, his business partner was on the plane. He says, Moshe, we need to talk about the business. Well, we're going to the meeting, let's plan out what's our strategy, what we're going in for, what we want to come out of it. We don't have time now for Chok L'Yisrael. I'll do that later. Let's sort out the meeting. We've got plans here. And Moshe said to him, he said, first I'm doing my Chok L'Yisrael, and then I'm doing the meeting. He said, the reason why I'm successful in business is because first I do Torah. The Torah is first. After we do Torah, then we'll do the meeting. And he was always successful. And he said, Moshe, you're right. He saw nothing that he planned to say, then you don't need that. God decides who to give the money to. Or Chaim HaKadosh says, Imen Kemach and Torah. And he says that a person should look at himself. Imen Kemach, if you don't have money, and Torah, because you don't have Torah.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's what he said. So a person thinks, I'm doing Mesirut Nefesh, I'm giving up for my business, I'm giving up my meeting and I'm going to the Shiur Torah. Not giving up anything for Torah. It's the Torah which provides a business. It provides a successful business. That's what he says. Because you leave your business and you go to study, you will have all the money that you need at the time. I'll say up another idea. Diversion Device says, Imen Kemach en Torah, Imen Torah en Kemach. I'll translate. Imen Kemach means there's no flour, there's no Torah, which basically Kemach means money. Flour is just an expression of food, because you eat, that's what you need. You eat Kemach, food. If there's no food, dough, that's it. Dough is another word for money, right? Dough is money. Even in English. So Kemach means money. If there's no money, there's no Torah, because you can't study Torah if you don't have, you can't pay your bills, you can't pay electricity, you can't pay your food. You need money to study Torah. But if you don't have Torah, then you don't have money. And it goes together. There's no money, no Torah. There's no Torah, there's no money. Amen kemach and Torah, amen Torah and kemach. Says the Divuk Yisrael, what comes first? First, because there's no money, that's why there's no Torah. Because there's no Torah, then there's no money. Mi kodem lemi. What would you say? So he said it depends on every person. So the person wakes up in the morning, so what do I have to do first? All right, everybody wants Torah and money. So he says, listen, I've got to go to work. Because if there's no kemach and Torah, first I go to work and then I'll study Torah. But somebody says, no, listen, I've got to study Torah first. Because if there's no Torah, there's no kemach, then there's no money. And he said that the derech of Esav used to go first out to work in the field, and then he used to come back tired. And when he was tired, he used to go study Torah. But he said that tzaddikim that go with Hashem, the first thing they do when they wake up in the morning, first thing is the Torah. And even if a person goes to work in the morning, but a little bit of Torah. Shulchan Aruch says when a person finishes praise in the morning, he prays in the morning, do a little bit of Torah. That's why we have halacha in the morning, right? Before, you're folding your tefillin, but at least catch that one line of Torah, one line of halacha before you go out to your work. Because it meant Torah and kemach. You want to have a good day at work. You want to have a good day in business. So catch it a little bit. If you can open up a sefer or open up Tilana halacha on the way to work, that's a men Torah, men kemach, men Torah and kemach. And to talk about that, and we'll end off with this final idea. כל המקבל עליו עול תורה, מעבירים ממנו עול מלכות ועול דרך ארץ. All derech eretz means the burden of providing a livelihood. Right? It's difficult to make parnasa. A person needs to provide for his family. And it's difficult out there, People have a hard time making money, especially today's demands of today's children and today's wives. Everyone wants the standard. Right? We're not just providing bread on the table. Got to provide other expenses as well. So a person has to remember that it doesn't have to be a burden. And if a person accepts in himself all Torah, a study amount, I'm studying it every day, a certain amount, a certain time. That is all Torah. I have to keep my schedule. You have your daf yomi, I have to keep my daf every day. Or halacha yomi, or mishnah yomi, or something which I'm doing every day. And that's important. So I want to speak a little bit about that. Because it's not the amount of how much, but it's the persistence, it's the diligence, it's the continued everyday effort. It's not about the daf, it's about the yomi. Every day I'm learning something. And even if it's a small amount, I'm going to do it. And that's the solidarity. It's solid, continuous. That's the strength. So I'm going to share with you Gemara in Zvachim. In the Bet HaMikdash, so you decide which Kohen would go first. So one of the rules are, Kol hatadir mechavero kodem et chavero. Someone who's there all the time, he goes first. In the avodat of the Bet HaMikdash. And there's another rule which says, Kol hamekudash mechavero kodem. Whoever's more kadosh, is more holy, he goes first. Now what if you have two people? One is more kadosh, and one is more regular. So who goes first? Says the Gemara, the one who's regular. The one who's regular goes more than the one who's kadosh. If you're regular in the synagogue, regular in the Bet HaMikdash, regular in the Bet HaMikdash, you're studying Torah, that is the power. He said it's even more stronger or more powerful to study a smaller amount every single day than to study a lot amounts some days, and some days study nothing. And he said that's the power of atmada. In the beginning, of when the Rav Milublin or Rav Shapira, he founded the Daf Yomi. So some people went against him. He said, "What do you mean? Only one daf every day? One daf? Some days you can do 5 daf. You want to do one daf? You like limiting.
Yeah, well, if you study one daf properly, it's
okay. One daf can take you a month. Yeah. If you study many hours, but they were saying against him, why limit people to studying one daf? Let them study 5 daf a day, 7 daf a day. He said, but it's not about the daf, it's about the yom. It's about every day. And that's the power of every day that gives you the strength to continue. And that's all Torah. וכל המקבל עליו עול תורה מעבירים ממנו עול דרך ארץ. And then life is much easier for them. Hashem will give you bracha and parnasa. Bezrat Hashem, we should all strengthen in our study of the Torah. Study daily of the Torah. And Bezrat Hashem, we have the bracha of the Torah. V'natati gishmechem beitam. We'll all have abundance of parnasa. It'll be easy. We have the bracha of being calm, of enjoying the peace of mind, the peacefulness of serenity of the soul. And be able to continue to give thanks to see all of God's miracles that we have in our lives every day. I thank you all for joining us, joining me, and please, Bezrat Hashem, next week we'll be back.
Thank you.
With another show. Thank you. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you very much. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.
Maybe we'll just do one halacha.